Good afternoon, Year 7. I hope you are well and I hope that you had a lovely weekend. This is our last week of remote learning. I'm very excited to have you back in the classroom, but it's really important that we continue to work hard this week and submit all of our work. I'm not going to be reteaching the content that we've been doing over remote learning again. We need to keep pushing forward. So please don't stop all of your excellent work. Today we are going to continue reading A Midsummer Night's Dream. So could you please pause the video and write down the title, the date, and the learning objective. Press play when you have those three things written down, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you have the title, date, and LO written down. As you can see, we're moving on to read Act 3, Scene 2. Now it's time to complete the do now. I would like you to answer these 5 questions in 4 sentences. These questions are based on Act 3, Scene 1. So if you need to look back at your notes to help you answer these questions, you can do that. Or if you want to challenge yourself, you can do it from memory. Please make sure they are answered in 4 sentences. Pause the video and complete this task now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to make your purple pen corrections. Give it a tick if you got it right. Just put a cross next to it if you got it wrong, and then write the correct answer in purple pen. So, the craftsman decides to explain that the lion isn't real and that nobody dies to make sure that the women in the audience aren't scared. Puck turns Bottom's head into that of a donkey. Titania falls in love with Bottom, even though he has a donkey's head. Titania gives Bottom 4 fairy servants who are going to look after him. And Bottom reacts to Titania's behaviour as if it is perfectly natural. Sorry, I've just realised I've missed a word there. It's meant to say, Bottom reacts to Titania's behaviour as if it is perfectly natural. Pause the video and make any purple pen corrections that you need to now. Okay, so before we start reading Act 3, Scene 2, I'm going to give you a summary of what we're going to read. This is only the first part of Act 3, Scene 2. We're going to read the second half of Act 3, Scene 2 on Thursday. This is a really important scene and a lot happens, so please make sure that you are listening and also reading along with me at the same time. So, Puck explains the outcome of his experiments with the love potion to Oberon, and Oberon is pleased to learn that Titania has fallen in love with the monstrous Bottom and that Puck has also fixed the rude Athenian. Just after Puck assures him that Demetrius must now love Helena, Demetrius and Hermia enter the scene. Oberon recognises Demetrius, but Puck realises that it is not the same Athenian he used the potion on. He realises his mistake. Because her darling Lysander has mysteriously disappeared, Hermia accuses Demetrius of murdering him and hiding the body. Hermia thinks that because Demetrius loves her so much that he must have harmed Lysander in order to try and win Hermia. Demetrius insists that he didn't kill his enemy, but Hermia refused to believe him. They give up the argument in despair. Demetrius sinks to the ground and falls asleep, while Hermia continues her search for the missing Lysander. Oberon reprimands Puck, which means he punishes him and tells him off, for anointing the wrong Athenian with the love juice. To correct the situation, Oberon sends Puck in search of Helena, and then he squeezes the magic potion into the cold-hearted Demetrius's eyes. So at this point, the love potion has been used on Titania, Lysander, and Demetrius. Okay, let's read. So remember that we have the original version on the left-hand side from Shakespeare. This is the side that we quote from. And this red side is a modern translation. And we're going to use this to help us understand Shakespeare's language, but we do not quote from the red side. So remember, Robin is another name for Puck. And this information in brackets here is stage directions. So it is an indication to us who are reading the play what is happening on stage. Now, if somebody speaks aside to another character, it means that they are speaking only so that character can hear. So Oberon and Puck are on stage with Demetrius and Hermia, but they are speaking aside to one another, which means that Demetrius and Hermia cannot hear. So Oberon says aside to Robin, "Stand close, this is the same Athenian," which means he said step aside, here's the Athenian coming now. So this is Demetrius, and Oberon believes at this point that Puck has put the love potion on Demetrius's eyes. So he's kind of excited to see what's going to happen. Puck then said to Oberon, "This is the woman, but not this the man." He realizes his mistake. He said, "That's the woman that I saw, Hermia, but it's not the same man. He saw Lysander." Then we hear Demetrius and Hermia arguing. Demetrius says, "Oh, why rebuke you him that loves you so?" Demetrius says, "Why are you so rude, rebuke, to someone who loves you so much?" Then he says, "Lay breath so bitter on your bitter foe." He says, "Save that kind of harsh language for your worst enemy." So enemy meaning foe. And this is interesting. Demetrius asks Hermia why she's so rude to him, even though he loves her. But Demetrius was rude to Helena, even though Helena loves him. So that doesn't seem very fair. Hermia says, "Now I but chide, but I should use these worse." She says, "I'm only scolding you now. I'm only harming you a little bit, but I should treat you much worse." Then she says, "For thou, I fear, hast given me cause to curse." She said, "Because I'm afraid that you've given me a good reason to curse you." She says, "If thou hast slain Lysander in his sleep, being over shoes in blood, plunge in the deep and kill me too." She says that I'm being rude to you because I think you've killed Lysander. And if you've killed Lysander while he was sleeping, then you're already up to your ankles in blood. You might as well jump right into a bloodbath and kill me too. Hermia asked to be killed because she cannot live without Lysander, because she loves him so much. Hermia continues by saying, "The sun was not so true unto the day as he to me." She says, "He was more faithful to me than the sun is to daytime." And this is really interesting because she doesn't know at this point that Lysander is actually following Helena around, claiming that he loves her. So he isn't exactly that faithful. She then says, "Would he have stolen away from sleeping Hermia?" She asks, "Would he have actually snuck away from me whilst I was asleep?" And then she says, "I'll believe as soon this whole earth may be bored, and that the moon may through the centre creep, and so displease her brother's noontide with the Antipodes." She says, "I'll believe that he snuck away when I believe that there's a hole through the centre of the earth, and the moon has passed all the way through to the other side." And again, this is funny. We know this is funny because she should believe that Lysander snuck away from her because he has, and therefore she should believe that there's a hole through the earth and that the moon has gone through the earth to the other side. So as an audience, we would be laughing at Hermia right now. She then says, "It cannot be but thou hast murdered him, so should a murderer look so dead, so grim." She says, "The only possibility is that you have murdered him. A murderer should look like you do, so pale and grim." Demetrius says, "So should the murdered look, and so should I, pierce through the heart with your stern cruelty." He says, yes, that's right. That's how someone who's been murdered should look. But that's also how I look, because you've pierced me. You've murdered me through my heart with your cruelty. And then he says, yet you, the murderer, look as bright, as clear as yonder Venus in her glimmering sphere. He says that you are the murderer because you have murdered me by being so horrible to someone who loves you. But he says that you look as bright and clear as a star in the sky. There's a simile there comparing Hermia's beauty to the stars, showing how much Demetrius loves Hermia. Hermia says, what's this to my Lysander? Where is he? Ah, good Demetrius, wilt thou give him me? Hermia doesn't care that Demetrius is being kind to her. She continues to worry about Lysander, asking, what does that have to do with my Lysander? Where is he? And then she pleads, will you find him for me? And Demetrius replies, I had rather give his carcass to my hounds. Demetrius cruelly says, I would rather feed his corpse to my dogs. He hates Lysander because Hermia loves him, and he would rather feed his body to the dogs, than find Lysander for Hermia. And now we've returned to Oberon and Puck, who are speaking amongst each other on the side, watching all of this unfold. Oberon says to Puck, what hast thou done? Thou hast mistaken quite and laid the love juice on some true love's side. He says, Puck, what have you done? You've made a mistake and you've put the love juice on someone else, someone who is truly in love. Lysander was truly in love with Hermia, and Puck has ruined that true love by making this mistake. Oberon says, of thy misprison must perforce ensue some true love turned and not a false turned true. Oberon says, because of your mistake, someone's true love must have turned bad, instead of this man's false love being turned into true love. Oberon saying that you have ruined the true love between Hermia and Lysander, instead of making Demetrius fall in love with Helena. Puck says, then fate overrules that, one man holding troth, a million fail, confounding oath on oath. He says, then fate overrules that. In that case, it must be fate. And now fate is the idea that everything is meant to be. So some people say it's fate who you're meant to marry. And there's one person for everyone, and you're meant to marry that person. And Puck is blaming his mistake and saying, well, maybe it's fate that this has happened. He said, that's the way of the world. That's the way the world works in fate. He says, for every man who's faithful to his true love, a million end up running after a different lover. And he basically is saying that it's not very common for people to be in true love. Oberon says, about the wood go swifter than the wind, and Helena of Athens look thou find. He said, go around the forest now, move as fast as the wind, and make sure you find Helena. Oberon says, all fancy sick she is, and pale of cheer, with sighs of love that cost the fresh blood dear. Oberon says that she's love sick, fancy sick, and her face is pale from all the sighing she's been doing, because sighing is bad for the blood. So she's pale of cheer, because she's been sighing of love. And then he says, by some illusion, see thou bring her here, I'll charm his eyes against she do appear. He says, use tricks and illusions, use your magic to bring her to me, and I'll put the charm on his eyes for when she comes. So Oberon is trying to fix this mistake by making Demetrius fall in love with Helena at long last. Okay, now your task. I would like you to copy down the statements that are true. Lysander is in love with Hermia. Oberon initially thinks Puck did his job well. Demetrius thinks Hermia should be nice to him as he loves her. Hermia believes that Demetrius made Lysander run away. And Puck blames fate for his mistakes. Pause the video and write down the statements that are true. Okay, if you're back, that means you've got the statements down that you think are true and you're ready to make your purple pen corrections. Give it a tick if you got it right. If you got it wrong, cross your answer out and write the correct answers in purple pen. So these are the true statements. Oberon initially thinks Puck did his job well, and then he realises it was bad. Demetrius thinks Hermia should be nicer to him as he loves her. Puck blames fate for his mistakes. Now, number 1 is wrong because Lysander is in love with Helena. And number 4 is wrong because Hermia believes that Demetrius has murdered Lysander. So you should have these 3 written down. If you do, give each one a tick in purple pen. If you don't, cross your answer out that is incorrect and write the correct one in purple pen. Pause the video and make your purple pen corrections now, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to move on to the main task of the lesson. What I would like you to do is to copy this mind map down. This is a quote said by Oberon. He said, "What hast thou done? Thou hast mistaken quite and laid the love juice on some true love's sight." Just a reminder, that means he's asked Puck, what have you done? You've made a mistake and you've used the love juice on someone who is in love truly. Pause the video and copy this mind map down with this quote inside it now, please. Okay, so now you're going to annotate around this quotation to ensure that you've analysed this quote. And to do that, you're going to label it by answering these questions. What emotion is Oberon feeling? What is the mistake that Puck makes? What does this mistake cause? What lesson has Oberon learnt? What is the best way to fall in love in your opinion? And how does this link to the quote, "The course of true love never did run smooth"? So I'm going to answer one of these questions for you, maybe 2. As I'm answering the question and writing on screen, you're going to write your answers around your mind map. So I'm going to answer this question here. And to do that, you're going to need to do this as well. I'm going to draw an arrow up into this space. Draw an arrow on your mind map now. Okay, so you should have written your arrow down. And now I'm going to answer that question. As I'm writing, you're also going to write. So I'm going to write, let's go back. Let me grab my pen. I'm going to write, this links to the course of true love never did run smooth because, and then I'm going to answer this question. Now, the course of true love never did run smooth means that love is never easy. And this links to this quote here because love is chaotic right now and love is confusing because of the potion. So I'm going to write, because the potion, and I'm just going to continue writing down here, the potion has caused chaos and probably like sadness, right? It's making people quite sad, and sadness, and then full stop at the end. So there, I have answered that question. Pause the video now if you need a second to copy down this red sentence, please. Okay, so you should have copied down this red sentence. Now it is your turn to answer the remaining questions on the screen. And I'm going to help you answer them in full sentences by giving you some sentence starters. So, what emotion is Oberon feeling? You would need to write something like, Oberon is feeling, and then you would put his emotion. How is he feeling that Puck has caused this absolute chaos? And why does he feel that way? Then what is the mistake that Puck makes? I would write the mistake that Puck makes is, then you would finish that off. And then I would write for this one, this mistake causes. What does it cause for the lovers? Be specific. What has Oberon learned? Oberon has learnt not to. I'll give you a hint there. What should Oberon not be doing? And in your opinion, what is the best way to fall in love? The best way to fall in love is ... Should it be as a result of a potion, or should it be something else? So you now have some sentence starters to help you answer your questions. So can you pause the video now and complete these sentence starters to answer these questions based on this quote? Press play when you have completed this task. Okay, if you're back, that means you have all of these sentence starters complete around your mind map and you are ready to submit your work. Remember, your subject of the email needs to be English lesson, the number of the lesson. So for this one, it needs to be number 2. And then it needs to be the date. And this lesson is the 2nd of March, so it needs to be 02/03/21. Make sure you pause the screen now so you can reread this guidance about how to submit your work to my email, not on Show My Homework. Once you've sent me your work, you can X off the video and continue with your lessons. Well done. I look forward to seeing your excellent mind maps later this evening.